How's it going? Welcome to day 2 of the Daily Coding Problem. I signed up for this email list. It's on dailycodingproblem.com. I don't know who runs it. I don't know where these problems come from, but the emails say that they come from some larger tech companies. So today's is labeled as coming from Google. It's also labeled as easy, but I've been stumped by many easy problems. So we'll see what's in store for today. As usual, I'm going to pretend kind of like this is an interview. That's why I'm doing it on camera, so that I can't really undo anything. And I just started my stopwatch, so I have an hour to do this. Hopefully, I don't make you watch this for an hour, but that's where I'm going to stop. If I don't have it done by the time the time runs out, that's okay. But my goal is to get better and better at doing these things. And I don't know, it's just fun. I don't find these are necessarily useful skills, but it's fun to practice it. It's just, it's just fun. Okay, so let's see what's in store for today. Here is the problem that I received in my email today. Again, this one was labeled as coming from Google recently, and it was also labeled as easy. So let's go ahead and read it. Given a list of numbers and a number k, return whether any two numbers from the list add up to k. And then we have an example. For example, given 10, 15, 3, and 7, and a k of 17, return true since 10 plus 7 is 17. So the first and the last element of what was passed in equals 17. Great, that makes sense. And then we got a bonus here. Bonus, can you do this in one pass? So my experience with problems like this in these kind of interviews is usually you don't see this bonus. It's hidden from you. Usually the interviewer will ask this part up here and then just see how you decide to implement it. And if you do something that's a little less efficient, then they'll toss this bonus in at the end to see if you can improve the efficiency. So I think we can probably, I already see a nice strategy that we can use for this. That'll be one pass. So I'm probably just going to go that route. But let's clear this out and start opening up fresh Vim and tackle it. So the first thing I like to do, of course, is add a test, and that's because we got to run our code anyway. So we might as well do that in a test, right? So let's call this, what are we writing? Naming these things are hard because it's just like weird algorithms, right? What are you even going to call this? Let's call it. This is like the hardest part of this. I'm gonna open up our problem again. Given a list of numbers, return any two number, for example, blah blah. Return trace since. Let's call this. I'm just gonna name it. God, it's brutal. Okay, I'm just gonna make up a name and we'll go with it. Okay, so I'm gonna call this sum. So let's create our test file. Sumtest.rb. Sumtest. That's funny. And we'll use Minitest since we get that for free in Ruby. Minitest auto run to run our tests. And as usual, I will include Minitest Pride as well, so we get nice colors in our test output. And we also need to require the file that we're actually going to test, which is going to be called sum. That's what we've decided to call it. Describe sum. Do. Now we need to decide what we're going to call our method to return true or false. Sum. I'm gonna call it 4. Kind of a funny name, but what I want to do is do sum for, maybe make this Boolean here. Sum.new numbers dot 4 k dot, and this will return true. Let's look at our README, see if it was called k again. It was called K, so let's just stick with that. Excuse me, sorry. So we'll stick with K. We'll call our set of numbers numbers. I'm gonna take a drink. And we'll test if that returns true. So let's grab our example that was provided to us. So that's gonna be this guy here. That looks good. Paste it in. And we're going to call our sum sum.new. Basically, we're going to take this guy up here. And our numbers are going to be this. Perfect. Great. And this needs to be inside of an actual test block here. It returns true when two numbers add up to K. Perfect. And that's where this stuff's going to go in. Okay. So we have our sum object. We have our numbers. Assert sum.4k of 17. So when provided those numbers, we want to assert that we get true when we pass in k of 17. So if I run this bad boy, this is going to fail because we don't even have our sum class yet. So it's telling us it can't find the file, so let's create it. Sum.rb. Now it's giving us uninitialized constants. Perfect. Now it's giving us our constructor doesn't have the right number of arguments. Let's go ahead and give it the right number of arguments. Excuse me, I need to cough. Man, brutal. Okay, so numbers is what we're passing in. Let's save those numbers. Perfect. We'll give ourselves a little reader here so we can access those numbers. Run our test again. There's nothing called for. And expected nil to be truthy. That's the failure we're getting. By the way, the tests are in the bottom of the screen. I assume you noticed that, but if not, there they are. So now it's telling us this is returning nil, right? And we want it to return true. So let's do it. Sweet. Okay, that was pretty stupid, right? Let's add a few more tests. So right now our test passed, but obviously I didn't write anything. So let's add a test for when there is not a sum. It returns false when no two numbers add up to K. And so I'll just go ahead and take out that 10, and we'll continue to pass in these same numbers, and this we want to refute. We expect this now to return false. I'll run the tests, and boom, now it fails because we're just returning true. So let's actually write some code now that we got stuff tested. Now remember we had like a bonus that says do it in one pass. The way that I'm thinking about doing this already does it in one pass, so we might as well just start with that route. What I'm thinking about doing is we have this array of numbers, and what we really want to do is just walk through each of them. And if we've seen a number in the past that we can add to our current number that equals K, then we'll just stop there and return true. So doing that in code would look something like numbers, and I can do even a scene here. So I'm gonna make an array called scene, and this is gonna store all the numbers we've seen. Okay, so then as we walk through the set of numbers that were passed in, we're going to set the index of that number to true, and that prevents us from having to, keep walking through. Because another way to do this inefficiently, right, would be to, we'd start at 10, and then we'd walk through every other number. We'd look at 15, 3, and 7 and see if any of them equals 17. If it doesn't, then we'd go on to our next one, and we'd do 15, and we'd add that to 3 and 7, and then, but, that's not one pass, so we want to do it in one pass. So now we can do numbers dot each, do number, and now we're iterating through our numbers. We can do scene of number equals true. But before we do that, we can check if we've already seen a number that adds to this number that'll give us 17. So we can look for number scene K minus number return true if. So return true if we've seen a number. Yeah, okay. Let's put this in a if else block here. Sweet. So if we've seen a number that we can add to this number that gives us K, then return true. Otherwise, just mark that we've seen this number and continue to the next one. And let's try running this. And it fails. Why does it fail? So which one's failing? Our second one is failing, so we're always getting true. So let's walk through this and see what I did wrong here. Because obviously I did something wrong, right? And let's try again. And let's just run that second test. So let's come over here. I'm just going to run this one because that's the one that's failing. And let's do it here. So we've got our number, which should be 15, and we've got K, which is 17. Scene K minus number is nil, as we would expect. Let's go ahead and exit. Oh, you know what? I bet, now that I think about it, I bet you it's just returning the numbers array at the end, which is truthy, so it's passing, right? Oops. Let's get rid of our binding. Run it again. Sweet. Okay. Everything passes. So we can probably clean this up, use a little ternary in here. So scene. Yes. If we've seen this, return true. Otherwise, that. Yeah. Run it again. I think it reads better actually without the ternary. I like this. You know, I actually like it better like this. Return true if. Cool. I think that reads a lot better. Okay, everything passes. Okay, well, we can toss a couple weird scenarios in here just to make sure things are working as we expect. But other than that, I think we're done. So, yeah, there's not. I mean, we could I guess, clean this up a little bit, but I don't really... It looks fine to me. Maybe put a little line in there. Okay. So what are a couple edge cases we can throw in here? Returns true when two numbers add up to k. Let's go ahead and just create a couple different test cases that we can iterate through here. So we'll create an array of test cases. This will be the one that was provided. And then pass those in there. Sure, that seems good. And if we run it now, everything still passes, so we didn't break anything. So let's add a couple more scenarios that we would expect to add up to 17. So one would be 17 and 0, right? Let's try that. That works. What would another one be? We can try... Actually, that's fine. Let's just do that. Cool. Next, let's add a couple more let's add one more that we expect to be false. So I'm actually just gonna copy and paste this. Do that. Do a refute. Blah, 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 blah. So there's the scenario we had. So another case that would be fun to test is if there's a single number that equals k, so in this case 17, but no other number we can add it up to, we would expect that also to equal false, right? Let's test that. Cool. Sweet. Well, I think that's it. I think it looks good to me. So let's toss this in a commit and push it up. I'll remove my pry over here. Okay, that looks good. Ooh, we got an empty line at the bottom. Sweet, okay. So this is add solution to 2020-0201 and push it up. All right. And we are done. That is all we have for today. It was a blast. Hope to continue doing these every day. I don't know if I'll publish a video every day because I'm not even sure if people are watching these, but this is a lot of fun for me. We finished this one in about 17 minutes. I bet they're going to get a lot more difficult than that. Yesterday's was actually a little bit more difficult. I will share a link to this code on GitHub if you wanted to check it out. But other than that, dailycodingproblem.com is what I'm using to follow these, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.